Thank you, Mr. Mayor and colleagues, and thanks to everyone for those powerful presentations today. I just want to say it's an honor to join with you in declaring May 30th, 2021 to be Vanport Day of Remembrance. I think it's important that we remember Vanport because the tale of our sister city continues to teach us lessons. For those of you who don't know the Vanport story, in the 1940s, Vanport was the second largest city in Oregon. And in 1948, Vanport was wiped out by a flood of biblical proportions. Today, Delta Park and Portland International Raceway occupy the land where Vanport once stood. And as we have heard, Vanport was a remarkable city. The name Vanport is, of course, a mashup between the words Vanport or Vancouver and Portland. Vanport was founded in the 1940s to house workers at the wartime Kaiser shipyards. In the 1940s, about 40,000 people lived in that city, and a poll from that decade asked families why they moved to Vanport. And the top reason was they thought it was their duty to go into defense work. And as we've also heard, it's important to remember that about 40% of the residents of Vanport were Black. And here's how this happened. The wartime defense industry jobs in Vanport triggered a great migration of African Americans into Oregon. I think in terms of African Americans, it's entirely possible that Vanport was the most racially integrated city Oregon has ever seen. Now, all of that came to an end at 4:05 p.m., May 30th, 1948. That's when a 200-foot-long section of a railroad berm holding back the Columbia River collapsed, triggering a flood. By nightfall, Vanport was underwater, and about 17,500 Vanportlanders were homeless. That flood drove many African Americans who lived in Vanport to Portland. And I tend to think of this flood of Black refugees into Portland as the beginning of the modern era of Black politics here in the City of Roses. 1948, in other words, was the moment when Portland not only began to grapple with the culture change needed to recognize Black people, not only as full citizens of the state of Oregon. The flood of 1948 was also the moment when white Portlanders began to grapple with the cultural change that is needed to accept Black Portlanders as neighbors. Now, 73 years after the Vanport flood, this council continues to struggle with the work of changing our culture so that we have a more equitable and inclusive city. And I know, especially after this long year of COVID, many of us are exhausted. But I also want to remind Portlanders that the arc of the mortal universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that's why I want to take this moment to thank every Portlander who's made a personal commitment to be kind to their neighbors, regardless of the color of their skin. Your human decency is bending the moral arc of the universe towards justice. And that's why I'm so grateful to spend this moment with you, reflecting on Vanport. Thank you.